What up, Internet? I'm Young Guru, and welcome back to Thomas Was Alone. In the last episode, Thomas was indeed alone. Let's see if we can remedy that. I submitted hundreds of bug reports. I told that idiot this would happen. Overlapping scripts? More than one AI was bound to be spawned into an environment at some point. Turns out I missed the point. That little error changed everything.
Chris took an immediate and deep dislike to the skinny red rectangle. Who the hell did this Thomas think he was?
So Chris, not nearly as outgoing and adventuresome as Thomas. So he's going to be a little more hesitant to do things.
Chris had been doing fine. He wasn't the highest jumper, but he'd held his own. He'd even been graceful at times. Well, not technically graceful, it's probably the wrong word, but, fine. There was that skinny little runt leaping about like he owned the place.
It's Thomas, much more willing to just jump into danger. Chris, a little more reserved, less wanting to see the world, and more just wanting to live his life. A lot less pointless jumping by Chris. Just walking and falling.
Okay, this was more like it. A glowy white thing. Only Chris could get to it, which of course made it all the more enticing. What would it do? What new opportunity might this switch open up to him? Great. Another chance for Thomas to jump slightly higher than Chris. How fortunate. Seriously, this made the whole switch pressing thing entirely worthwhile. Was this good? Because on the surface, it did not seem good. Chris was pretty scared. Little Red seemed fine, happy to be on his merry little adventure. Chris couldn't shake the feeling that things had taken a significant turn for the worse since Thomas had joined him. Sure, he'd been able to piggyback his way to ever so slightly higher platforms, but where had that got him? Well, to ever so slightly higher platforms, which was sort of his point.
And right there we got Thomas trying to tell Chris what to do. A little bit of a teaching moment.
Chris stared at Thomas with pure hatred. He seemed so very happy at their situation. Friends together, a brave fellowship of quadrilaterals on a quest for greatness. That would be fine. But it was all the obvious observation that Thomas was doing which grated. Every time they saw something vaguely new, Chris would hear a satisfied little from the vaulting idiot. He hoped the next portal would split them up, if only for a few levels. this was his chance, a moment to shine. This was game day. This would not do. John needed room to show off his exceptional skills. As it was, he was trapped on the wrong side of these little dot things. Where did they come from, anyway?
Thomas jumping from behind John to try to tell Chris to come moving along, that everything is safe on that side.
John inhaled the air of the open space, and it smelled of awesome. Time to flex those muscles, to put his training to use, time to show those little dots how it was done. John decided to press the switch, to let the little dots catch up with him. John cared for his new allies. You could tell from the sympathetic expression he'd practiced in the mirror all these years.
So John is going to constantly run ahead of everybody in his pride of being so athletic and be forced to wait up for everybody to catch up with him again.
John was happy to keep helping. He felt it was important to his image that he was seen to help the little guys. didn't mind them so much either. The red one, Thomas, had a charming way of applauding every time John jumped.
Thomas waits behind on the elevator for Chris to join them. Friendly little Thomas.
The angry orange one was less immediately likeable, but his unremitting cynicism and tutting amused John. This was interesting. A floating target. This would require coordination, balance, and timing. John was sure the dots would be lost, but he was happy to guide them to triumph. Maybe that's what the dots were for. They were there to extend John's reach, to make his performance even more impressive. John liked the thought. He decided to keep them.
I'm Young Guru. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.